Good evening, everybody. I hope your heart rates have reduced themselves back to normal after that barnstormery game this afternoon. Welcome along to the Scottish Football Show, powered, of course, by the Rangers Rabble podcast this evening. And before I start and introduce my panel, you will notice I am not the man who normally sits in the hot seat for these review shows. Robert. Unfortunately, Robert has made the difficult decision to step away from the Rangers Rabble podcast as a whole, so meaning at this show as well. I personally just want to wish Robert all the very best, and whatever he decides to move on to next. He's obviously big shoes to fill. I think he's been outstanding for us over the piece that he's been here, and certainly he's been a great help to myself since I joined, and I'm sure Ken and Davey will share in my sentiments there. Right, I do have a stellar panel tonight. First of all, we've got Kerr. Kerr, how are we?
I'm not bad. Connor, has been an emotional weekend, isn't it? Football galore. Yesterday was a Lazio Roma derby. The day was ourselves against them. So then I watched the United Liverpool game now. So it's been a lot of football over the weekend to catch up with, which is good, especially because none of the three teams, one of the teams I support and the two I like, didn't get beat. So that was quite good. But no angry eating for a change, but no. Ibrox today was. I'm just actually recovered. I was totally emotionally drained when it come up the road there, but I watched it back a wee bit. I'm starting to get my senses. You know yourself, when you're at it, you get that involved, you miss a lot of stuff that's happening. So I'm actually getting back to normal now. So I'm quite happy. I'm going to enjoy this tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Davey, fresh off what has to be the greatest intro to a podcast we've ever seen on Friday night. How are you doing after today's excitement?
Well, as Kerr alluded to there, it's been an emotional weekend, Connor, as I'm sure you'll agree. And, in regards to my intro on Friday night, I like to think that everything that I've tried to bring to the Rangers Rabble podcast in both the normal shows and the Scottish Football Show is all down to sort of Robert. He helps us all raise our game, to be fair. And a lot of the punters in the comments often criticise me for having a darkened room. This is just how technology is in Fife, unfortunately. But what sort of helps that is Robert's teeth going forward. So I'm going to be gutted that they're not going to be shining on me one last time. And I'm sure Robert will appreciate that if he's watching.
Yes, well, I'm sure that frees up his calendar for many more trips to Turkey. And yeah, so we'll get cracking then, lads. We'll start with what was possibly, until today, game of the weekend at Dens Park, Dundee and Motherwell. First and foremost, my question to the both of you, we'll start with you, Kerr. Should the game have even went ahead? Because we know with the rain, obviously, and the issues that Dundee have had with waterlogged pitches, there was, I think, 3 pitch inspections, and it was only on the third that it was past fit to play. Having watched the highlights of it, it did not look, particularly in the first half, it didn't look great at all. And I know Motherwell in particular were not happy that it went ahead initially. I think they were feeling it should have been called off. What was your kind of thoughts?
I think it's disgraceful the way Dundee's been doing things with a pitch, or not doing things with a pitch, and making excuse after excuse. Once you can say fine, twice you can say right that something needs to be done. But what does have been the 5th or 6th cancellation they've had this season? It's not right. I know they're planning on moving to a new ground and don't want to spend money on Dens Park anymore. And you can see that. Obviously, it's like moving a house. You want to spend money in your house if you want to move to go somewhere better, do you? But it's a professional football. I mean, we always like people with the AstroTurf, but at least these games are on and it's equal to both sides. Whereas this part, my back door's better. And it's not been cut in a month. Do you know what I mean? It's on a hill and it's full of water, but it's still better than Dens Park. I mean, you get United across the road who haven't had a game postponed. And I mean literally across the road. So I think it's shocking. I think it's a bad state of affairs. I think it's bad on Scottish football in general. especially the SPL, I think whoever's in charge is sitting back thinking, we can't continue to do this, especially when Sky having games having to cancel them. Wonder what they're thinking as well. Well, no one don't pay much money for this. Or the game at Dens Park would just go somewhere else. It's not great, and I'm not looking forward to going there on Wednesday night because it's not going to be any better, is it? So I think it's a disgrace, and I think Dundee should have been well punished by now. But obviously, we all know Dundee probably didn't read their emails.
Well, this is true. I mean, Davey, on that subject, and I'll pull up this comment here as well for a favourite of ours on this show, Wolfenstein, our favourite Hearts fan, I think, safe to say. He's obviously making the point about, as Kerr was there, about whether our game will go ahead at Dens, which has already been called off. There is due to be more rain between now and Wednesday. With the latest storm that's coming in. I mean, as Kerr says, that would have, if that had been called off, it'd have been the 5th time this season, the 5th game they'd have had called off. Now, in a 38-game league season, that's almost a fifth of your games. That can't be tolerated because they're going to be in the top flight next season. So, is there a solution to it for you? Do you think maybe they could come to some sort of arrangement that in situations like that, where Dundee United aren't playing, that they make the contingency to send somebody over to that pitch and check if that's playable and just delay kick-off to allow people to get across the road?
Well, I think that the logistics of that make that almost impossible with sort of, police protocols, health and safety protocols, Scottish Ambulance Service, St John's Ambulance Service and all the rest of it. It just makes that, an eye on task, but it shouldn't be getting to that point. They have been sent rain covers, I believe, from their friends at Celtic Park, so they should maybe be down the next few days. I stay through here in Leven in the east coast of Fife, and I'm about 40 minutes from Dens Park, and the forecast for the weather for the next few days is to be horrendous and torrential rain, so going forward, I certainly feel the game will be under threat. But more importantly for me is the aesthetics of your league. We do this show to promote the league as a whole and talk it up. We are Rangers fans and we take our time out to talk up the rest of the league and try and do our small part to promote Scottish football in any way in which we can. But you look at that pitch there and you see the comments on social media. We're called out often for being this farmers league from people down south. And there's obviously a lot of talk that the Women's Premier League in England is going to be getting more money in the next TV deal than our Sky deal. And you can understand why Sky are feeding us, dribs and drabs concerning how laughable situations are in a league. I mean, we work under a protected society with Neil Doncaster and Murder McClenaghan, who have a 2 years notice period in their job, and both are entitled to a 600k payoff, which is absolutely incredulous. Nobody wants to take ownership of this league. 6 teams walk off the board at the end of the season, and then the other 6 teams walk onto it. It's an absolute shambles. Nobody wants to take ownership of the situation to promote the league. Bring more structure, more rules, make teams more accountable, for things such as, the pitches themselves, the actions of the players, the actions of the fans. If you want to, make Scottish football accountable, there has to be somebody as the sole figurehead of that. But far too many people are looking to protect their own sort of situation under the SPFL and its structure. And unless that structure itself changes, we're just going to have the same continuing year upon year.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And of course, we'll wait with bated breath and hope that there are no issues on Wednesday. Of course, the point to make there is that with the final games before the split taking place next weekend, that game has to be played before then. So either they have to come up with something or if they can't get it played, then as far as I'm concerned, they should be forfeiting the points to us because that's their responsibility. Anyhow, a game of football did eventually take place, Kerr. Not much happened in the opening 30, 35 minutes. And I think both teams were getting to grips with the blustery conditions, shall we say. However, Dundee get themselves in front about 9 minutes before half-time, I think it was. It's a good cross from Cameron into the box, and Bakayoko gets up above the defender, heads it back across, and Jordan McGee's there to slot it home. And, you know, at that point, Dundee must have been delighted, but any question marks for you over the simplicity of the goal? Because Motherwell just didn't seem to defend it at all. I mean, they lost the first and second balls.
I think they did, and you know yourself, sometimes it's not as important one in the second. The first ball was the second ball you have to win, but the bonus, I think they headed across the goal, just Motherwell defenders didn't watch, just Jordan McGee put it away. But he scored a few goals for him this season, hasn't he, McGee? He scored a few, and he's not one that you always put down as first goal scorer, but that's a few stepped up when Dundee looked okay. They went in the lead, and Motherwell, I thought at times were struggling, but I don't know if it's because of the maybe they had to change their footwear at half time, put on their welly boots, who knows, but I just think they struggled, and Dundee obviously caught me in the park a bit better because it's their pitch, but no, here's a goal Jordan McGee scored and they put it away well, and obviously they must have thought going into half time 1 up, they've got a decent chance to come back out in the second half and take the 3 points, because Motherwell to me weren't really offering much at all. It wasn't a great game to be honest with you, what the highlights I've seen, but Motherwell weren't offering much, but Dundee actually played okay. Dundee's got a good attacking threat up front, and like I say, the boy put it away well.
Yeah, he did. It was a very decent goal, and as Kerr says, Davey, you know, Dundee would have been absolutely delighted getting in at half time with a lead. But on the point Kerr made about Motherwell, do you think that there was, you know, obviously as we touched on there, because of the pitch, Motherwell didn't want the game to go ahead. Do you think that impacted the players' sort of levels in the early part of that game, that they didn't really want to be playing it, so they were kind of maybe not full sort of wholeheartedly into the game?
I think the players that it affects are the more technical-minded players, and I think the telling substitution in that was that Kettlewell took off young Adam Devine at half-time and replaced him with, you know, hammer thrower that is Stephen O'Donnell, and that was sort of more to do with the conditions, I think, but Devine was very exposed. You could tell he was misjudging the elements and the ball over the top. You know, he's got pace, and you seen against Celtic in the game at Fir Park, he defended really well, especially at the back post. In the first half of the game, he was really struggling. He was caught out 2 or 3 times, and I think that just experience and that knowledge of Stephen O'Donnell's improved Motherwell in the second half. And I think I'm always the first person to criticise Stephen O'Donnell, as you know, previous podcasts in weeks gone by, but I think that was a good substitution that Kettlewell made at half time. Although at the start of the second half, I think Dundee, you know, were still coming on to Motherwell, and they were a bit more clever at using the elements. It took Motherwell a bit of time to catch up. I thought that Silla was terrific, you know, very Glenn Kamara-esque performance, and him breaking from deep, clever passes, playing in and around the 10, you know, linking the play, breaking the lines. And I think he has been a terrific addition to Tony Docherty's side this season. Where I think Motherwell struggled was cross balls for wide, set pieces. They were really all at sea the whole game from start to finish. Just before Motherwell scored their goal, Motherwell conceded the first goal, there was a carbon copy chance that was just very much similar to the goal itself. And then what's Liam Kelly doing for the second goal? Surely he's got to set up his defence there. But I mean, Connor, you're a goalkeeper yourself, but you've got to expect the ball to come in there on top of you. So why has he got 3 or 4 players in around him? He should be pushing away so that he can judge the flight and see it coming. It's all too crowded, and he misjudges the flight of the ball. And although you get credit McCown for the corner kick, for me it's poor goalkeeping on Kelly's part, and no for the first time this season.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And as David touches on there, Kerr, Dundee go 2-0 up with that corner, which sparks 20 minutes of utter madness in this game, you've got to say. But on Davy's point about the second goal for Dundee initially for the corner, obviously for me personally, I think Liam Kelly's got to do better. He gets caught completely under it, and in those conditions as well, you cannot make that kind of mistake. But I don't know about you, Kerr, but I feel like Kelly has had a noticeable step off in his performance levels throughout this season. He's not been as good as he was last season. It's not to say that he's had a bad season as such, but he's been very average. Where last year he was, he was such an important player for Motherwell. He had a real decent season.
I've not really been a big fan of Liam Kelly. I think he's just a decent goalkeeper at that level, but I don't think he's anything better than that. So I think things like this will happen to him just because he's just a decent keeper. Listen, you don't know how much the wind played on the corner tonight. It took a swirl in the wind that's coming into him. But obviously he must be expecting stuff. He's been a goalkeeper for long enough to know the elements can make a difference with the ball. He knows McKellen's going to swing it on top of him. Obviously his defenders are probably set up, but he shouldn't be balling with defenders, attackers. He has to keep his eye on the ball, but he wasn't even backpedal on it. He was just caught wrong, and at the end he was grasping at straws trying to get it. And it's not the first time Ian Kelly's made a lot of mistakes. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough for the Scotland squad, to be honest with you, but I don't think he's that good a keeper. I know I would mention maybe us bringing him back at a point to be an understudy, but even to me, I don't see anything there. I just think he's an average keeper. I think he was at Motherwell, he was at Livy. He was okay, went to QPR down in England and struggled badly and he came back up the road. And to me, just an average goalie. Not even one of the best in the league. He's probably down the league for best goalkeepers in the SPL.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And shifting on for that one, Motherwell do show a bit of fight back, a bit of spirit, get themselves up the park, and they get a penalty kick. Now, for me, it's I think it falls under the harsh variety because the proximity between the players is quite close. That being said, Joe Shaughnessy's arm is out, and in this day and age, if your arm's out and the ball strikes it, they're going to give it.
Fed up with this rule. Doesn't matter where you watch football, Scotland, England, Europe. I'm just old school, whereas I don't think every handball, arm to ball is a penalty. I don't think every tackle is not a foul. But the way now it's going in football, as soon as it hits your arm, if you mean it or not, they're pointing to the spot, and I don't like that. I know you get decisions your way and you get decisions against you, but in that close proximity, like you say, is how are you going to be able to move out of the ball? I mean, to me, I grew up with a handball where you accidentally moved your hand towards the ball because you're trying to cheat. But when someone hits you off you don't know if it's coming to you. That's no a advantage for me. It's not a penalty or a free kick, but that's the way football's going. And you know yourself, anytime it hits your arm, from shoulder down that way, anywhere, if your elbows out, wrists out, whatever, VAR is going to award a penalty. So that's just the way football is. So there's not even any point. I just get frustrated because I don't like that at all.
I mean, Davey, I've seen you sort of shaking your head a bit at the bottom of the screen there. I take it you disagree?
Well, I think it's a clear penalty as the way football is now. We need to move with the times. Obviously, we had the guys on from the Behind the Whistle podcast on Friday, James and Des, and you might debate the sort of contentious issue in regards to it, but much like the Goldson incident today, a handball is a handball in this day and age. You might not like the variation in how the rules adapted over the years, but under the current IFAB rules, that is a penalty. And what you have to say is it's a very poor penalty. And I thought encroachment was going to come into play here, but I think, as you saw, it was just the Dundee players sort of on the edge of the box, and George Gent was the quickest to react, and he was outside the box when he started running. Johnny on the spot, as they say, the old cliche saying, and it was a terrific finish, drilled low, fantastic goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just on the encroachment point, obviously, as you say there, here we've seen last week, Rangers very similarly got a penalty kick, which was missed, followed in, scored, and ruled out for encroachment. Now, in that instance, we've seen, Scott Wright's boot was judged to be in the box, although there was, I think, a couple of Hibs players as well. Did you have any issue with the encroachment here, or do you think it was the right call?
It's never something I look for. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a thing where unless you're actually inside it, I agree with it. But I just hate these silly times getting involved in a game of football. I mean, I started playing football, coaching football. These things weren't an issue as they are just now. So maybe Davey's right. Maybe I'm too old. I need to go with the rules. Need to evolve. But it's just sometimes to me it just ruins the game. Just let the game happen. But you have to, they have to move. But sorry, Trixie, see when you watch, I didn't watch that pod that night and stuff, but we talk about the penalty rules. I thought if it was only a handball, if it hit you straight, I thought if it came off somebody and hit your hand, that wasn't a penalty. Is that not a rule? No.
Not well. You've seen against us in Betis, John Souttar was still punished. Regardless, we all debated.
I thought that's what they were going to say. If it comes off somebody else, but it hits your hand.
Well, the IFAB rule does in fact state that if the ball ricochets either off yourself, i.e., you've headed it onto your arm, or it comes off another player and onto your arm, then therefore that should not be awarded as a penalty kick. The IFAB rules do say that, unless it directly stops the ball going in the back of the net. But the IFAB rules are always very much. I feel like officials across Europe in particular, and probably across the world, are very selective in which IFAB rules they choose to follow sometimes, though. So I think each country sort of interprets it differently. But shifting for that, not too long after that, Theo Bair involved again, Davey, rocks up with an equaliser. Brilliant ball through him, I've got to say. And then he just shows great strength to muscle off the defenders. And then the composure just to take that little touch to the side of the keeper and slot it home. And it really has been a talisman for Motherwell this campaign.
Well, in the sort of latter stages of the second half of this game, Theo Bair absolutely ragdolled Donnelly 2 or 3 times, pinned him one-on-one with the ball over the top, and he had 2 or 3 attempts to actually add to his tally beyond that. He should have done better. You have to say, his sort of run of form, considering he was a bit part player at St Johnstone last season, to be such a prominent SPFL striker this year is some turnaround, and he is the talisman in Motherwell, and he gets them high up the pitch, but he puts so much work rate into his games. Like, he doesn't give centre halves a minute. His work rate in the Celtic game at Fir Park, he was terrific. He gave Liam Scales a torrid time. And we seen at Ibrox against Connor Goldson and John Souttar. He ragdolled both of them. His upper body strength's incredible. I think he's got a quick, short, bursty pace as well. And sometimes or not, a bit like Cyril Dessers, it'll not always come off of him, but he keeps going and getting himself, another opportunity and another opportunity. In a club like Motherwell, you can afford that luxury because 9 times out of 10, he'll punish the lesser teams, and he's done it in the big games this season as well. So he could be putting himself in the shop window for a move. He's back in the Canadian international squad, so that'll come with sort of prestige. And the MLS are always on the lookout for players as well, and they've got a bit more money to spend. So he could possibly make Motherwell some money come the summer, but Stuart Kettlewell will be hoping to keep a hold of him because he's pivotal to how they play. You're on mute, Connor.
My bad. Dear me. Well, yeah, I mean, Tony Docherty must be pulling his head out after that game, because by my counting, I think that's the 3rd time this season that Dundee have had a 2-goal lead and let it slip and thrown it away. They done it, I believe, was it at Kilmarnock, 2-0 up, end up drawing 2-2. St Johnstone as well, earlier in the campaign, they were 2-0 up, and again, end up with a 2-2. In this case, obviously, they end up losing it. Moses.
Tynecastle as well, am I right?
Yeah. Oh, in fact, absolutely. So Tynecastle as well. So 4. So that makes this the 5th time. Moses obviously rocks up with a winner from Motherwell. Good cross into the box. He tucks it away well into the bottom corner. But what is it that is happening with Dundee that they're allowing themselves to be so sloppy with 2-goal leads in those situations? Because okay, the first goal's a penalty. That's fair enough. These things happen. But the defending for Theo Bair's goal, as good as that was, and then this goal here, not good enough.
Isn't it? You don't know if the players are turning off. You don't know if, as soon as they concede, they start to panic. You don't know what's going through their mind, because it's not like you said, it's not happened just once or twice. It's happened a good few times, and obviously Tony Docherty's maybe trying to play different formations. I don't know if he tried 4 at the back, 3 at the back, playing maybe somebody deeper for the middle of the park. You don't know what it is, because they get a good lead, but they struggle to hold that lead, which is obviously good to see, because we're going up there on Wednesday night if the game is on. But you don't know what the problem is. I don't know if it's Big Shaughnessy at the back, my runs out of legs near the 90-minute mark. I don't really know, but it can be good if you're a manager, because you will be taking your head out, you'll be trying different permutations to try and fix it out. But because they're scoring goals, but they're letting goals in, it's usually late in games they let goals in as well.
Sorry, Kerr, you finished a bit quick there. I thought there was more to come for you, but it's fine. We're just wrapping up on this one then, and it bleeds into the a couple of games that we've got tonight. That the top 6 connotations here. Obviously, Dundee still just about in pole position. However, Motherwell can sneak into 6th spot if they can beat Hibs next weekend, next Saturday, and Dundee have got 2 tough away trips. Two tough games. One at home to Rangers, obviously, which we're hoping we win, and then a tough away trip next week to Aberdeen. Even the form Aberdeen have been on, Dundee don't particularly have a great record at Pittodrie. So, could you see Motherwell pipping Dundee and Hibs to the post for the top 6, Davey?
No, because I think Motherwell are far too inconsistent, and the thing about Motherwell is they leak goals. As much as they are one of the highest scorers outside the Old Firm this season, Motherwell are defending horribly at times. And I know Dan Casey had a terrific game against us, and he's very sort of potent in the attacking end of proceedings, but I still don't think they've got the balance right at centre half. I think Motherwell can be got at. Their sort of right flank as well, chops and changes every week. So I think it's still Dundee's to lose. I think Dundee, is quite conceivable, could lose their next 2 games and still make top 6. I think that's possibly how it might play out. But no, for me, Motherwell won't make it. And I'll be brutally honest with you, I don't think they've done enough to deserve to make it. They've made a sort of late run. They had a decent enough start, but they were so poor for the bit in the middle. And on the balance of play, whilst I know Kerr's no a great fan of Dundee, the club, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not myself. In terms of footballing value for top 6, for me, they have been refreshing to watch at times this season. I mean, I know Tony Docherty doesn't care too much for the Rangers persuasion, but how they have played football this season, I thought they were going to be a hatchet team to watch, but they've been really easy on the eye going forward. They've got some terrific players middle to front, so possibly on the balance of play, they have deserved it. I hope I'm not talking them up before they go to play us, because the rule of thumb says many teams don't lose 3 games in the trot. As long as they lose to us, that's all I care about. If they make the top 6 by winning next weekend, so be it. But as long as they don't win during the week, I'm all good for that.
Just like to say, David, Gaz has said that we didn't play well at the start of the season either. So in that persuasion, David, we don't deserve to be winning the league then? Could you say
only
we deserve to be in the top 6?
It only counts who your current manager is.
Dear. Well, now shift gears to Paisley, where St Mirren and Hearts, 2 teams who will finish in the top 6. That was for St Mirren, even in defeat, confirmed due to the other results this weekend, that the top 6 is solidified. Back-to-back top 6 finishes for them for the first time, and I think it's something like 47 years. I mean, just before we go on to talk about the game, Kerr, even though they lost, that's some achievement for Stevie Robinson.
As considering they actually spent money in their park, their park's quite decent compared to Dundee, but listen, as because St Mirren's got a very small budget. I mean, like, a lot of money comes from a fan base as well, so I think they've got one of the smallest in the SPL, as in transfer budget and also wages. So it is impressive what they do down there. And I'm happy to see them there. I thought they played really well this season. They kind of tailed off near the end, right before this break. But I thought they were okay yesterday against Hearts. A wee bit of luck against them with a penalty and then the OG. But I thought they played okay. But listen, they deserve to be there, don't they? They played really well and they've put up some good performances against everybody, not just against certain teams, but against everybody. They've tried to play football and what the players he's got, Steve Robinson's done really well.
Yeah, I'd have to totally agree. And Davey, when the team sheets come out for this game, Stevie Robinson must have been fancying his chances, given that Hearts, for the first time in a long time I can remember, ended up losing Shankland to illness, and of course Benny Beningme was out as well due to illness. But big blow that for Hearts, particularly with Lawrence Shankland. However, I felt that they dealt with it well and they still looked a real attacking threat, even though their main man was missing.
Yeah, bizarrely enough, I don't think it affected the way Hearts played, because they played to the elements and the conditions, and they used Forrest and Vargas well in this game in terms of breaking when they could, playing the dig ball over the top. What I think was pivotal to Hearts in this game was the delivery for Alex Cochrane's dead ball. It put St Mirren under pressure so many times, and he put it right on the goalkeeper every single time, played it into great areas. Now, I've been critical of Alex Cochrane defensively this season because I think at times he gets caught out of position, and that's probably because he probably prefers going forward, and he gets caught out in behind at times. But I have to say, his delivery yesterday was exceptional, and obviously for the first goal, you have to say terrific ball in. Is it? I've lost my place. Sorry, I can't mind the goal now.
Worry not. We will touch on that. Luckily, I came prepared. So Hearts do get the lead care. They get a penalty kick, a handball given against Marcus Fraser. Now, this one, I think he slides in. Is his arm in an unnatural position?
That's a hard question to answer because us could all do a slide in the part, and no any teams have their hands in the same position. Do you know what I mean? So how do you slide and make you put your hands? That's what I mean about a show. You can't slide your hands straight. So your hands have to go somewhere. So it's harsh, but as in the rules of football, as we all know the day, that's a penalty, but I think it's very harsh on someone. I was a very cool with taking penalty enough, but very harsh.
Yeah, I mean, Davey, you think
it was a penalty because I'm looking at Marcus Fraser here, and to me, he's got it in that sort of position. Whereas if he slid like that, it'll miss him. But I just think the position in his hand was a bit more sort of in a forceful position in terms of he was trying to stop the ball in. And I think it was more a deliberate intent. I know there wasn't a lot of sort of space between where the ball was played to when it happened in the hand, but I think it was a penalty all day long. I know Kerr's dad will disagree, but for me, it was
I just don't agree with that penalty. I just don't agree with penalties. I think they're pointless. You may as well pick up boxing gloves and players are trying to hand behind their back. That's the only way you're going to stop it, because everybody's different when they play in a part. People are indifferent, people put their hands in different. It's like asking a guy to jump out, help his arms to help him jump. Do you know what I mean? It's rules that people make these rules don't play football. It's at an office somewhere, I'm telling
you. Well, obviously, penalty was given. George Grant stepped up. He seems to sort of be the deputy penalty kick taker for Shankland. I mean, he's even took one when Shankland was on.
I think he takes them now. If
he's been taking them recently. I don't know if that's because Shankland missed a couple, but he he does take it. He slots it home straight down the middle. One of those ones, from a goalkeeper's perspective, frustrates you because you pick a side, and if it goes down the middle, it's the worst place for it to go because you know if you just stood still, you save it. Shortly after that, Davy, Hearts did get another big chance to double the lead on the counter-attack through Cammy Devlin. It was a good piece of play, good link-up between him and Vargas. Vargas sets it back to him, and he just misjudges that attempt to curl it into the bottom bag.
And I thought Alec Gogic was totally at sea. I thought he was really, really poor. At times this season, I think he had a stronger sort of first 4 or 5 months of the season, but of late, I think he's dropped off it completely. Maybe sort of the hype round about him at that time got to his head, but I thought Alec Gogic was really, really poor yesterday. And the pace of Vargas stretched St Mirren at times. Cammy Devlin, he's a sort of combative type midfielder, but the thing about Cammy Devlin is he's always there. He's always looking for the ball. He's always looking to get involved in the play. He's tenacious. He's all in your face. And that type of player is useful in your team and in your squad. And with the elements that they were, the way that they were at St Mirren Park yesterday, I thought it was the right decision for Stephen Naismith to play him. I know at times in the big games this season, he's maybe been the guy that's been on the bench and come on and no started for Hearts, whereas last season he was guaranteed to start in all their big games. But you always got 110% for Cammy Devlin, and I think he's got a contract for another few years at Tynecastle. And for me, I think he's somebody that you can always rely on. It might not always come off for him, but if you're up against it in the trenches, he's somebody that you would want to have in your team.
You're mute again, Connor.
Which is a good thing, because that wasn't so much words that came out my mouth there as it was my iron brew. But Hearts do eventually double the lead, obviously, Kerr. Now, this is a bizarre goal. It really, I actually felt first of all because it's quite unlucky. It's good play for Hearts, first and foremost, got to say that. It's a ball comes into the box. Alan Forrest gets up to head it. Somehow, from trying to obviously head it goalwards, manages to head it sort of backwards. And then it just sort of, what looked like it bowled a bit, and then just unfortunately goes in off of Mikael Mandron, who doesn't really know much about it.
He does, and he does try to kick it at the last minute, but obviously just about to go over the line, he kind of kicks into his own net. But it's just one of the things that happen. It's an own goal, but you see, he doesn't know what about it, because he didn't expect the ball to come and hit off him. I thought the ball was going to go the other way, but Hearts were putting pressure on him. They're putting some dangerous balls into the box, one can deal with, and they got the worst from that. But he was unlucky. He didn't expect it, but I suppose that's another goal he's tallied this season.
Oh dear. Well, yeah, what I'm sure he'd rather didn't get. Now, Davey, St Mirren do get a goal back, and I think this is, for me, goal of the game. I thought Olasanya does absolutely tremendously well here. The ball does sort of go over the top to him. Question marks over Lembagisa, probably should be a bit stronger, but Olasanya sort of bullies him off on that halfway line, and then he just motors on. Once he's got that clear grass in front of him, he's straight through and holds off the defender as well and just slots it past Sander Clark.
Great goal, terrific run, great strength, upper body strength. But Lembagisa, his defending here is absolutely woeful. As a last line of defence there, you have got to at least match him for strength. Don't get bullied off the ball there, because at that point, he's then staring Xander Clark down and goal, and 9 times out of 10, you'd fancy him to score there. And I think it's really poor defending, and I think he has been a decent addition to the Hearts team, Lembagisa, but you can't excuse that defending. We've seen poor defending from our centre backs and our full backs at points this season. You have to call it out. I think they'd be really disappointed. However, where I think Hearts got away with one was just moments later in the penalty incident, because for me, it is a stonewall penalty with McMenamin all day long. I don't understand how you can say it's not. There's contact, and he's running at goal, and there's just sort of a clip in it. It's like that. It doesn't have to be intentional. He brings him down. He's facing goal with the ball. It's a penalty all day long. Now, Alan Muir is sent to the screen here by VAR to go and view it. And Alan Muir, as we have spoke about at times this season, you think back to the game at Ibrox against Motherwell, horrendous performance. You think back to the game at Ibrox against St Johnstone, where DJ was sent off through a VAR review, but the tackle on Lundstrom originally, he gave a yellow card and he's right in front of you. For me, Alan Muir is a really poor ref. You look at his body composition in comparison to the other top flight officials, let's no kid about it. He's pudgy, he's fat. I'm a fat guy, you know what I mean? I've got a cracking wee set of moves on me, but I'm not a top class, top league official. Alan Muir is, and that is disgusting that somebody like that is allowed to referee, because it makes a mockery of your league. You should be much fitter than he is, and I know they need to pass fitness tests, but see all this carry on with part-time referees and that, it's a nonsense. That somebody like that, and he's been around far too long, he's not on the FIFA list, and he hasn't been for years. He's a poor ref, he always has been. He's gone to the monitor. How he can then look at that and then turn around and say that's not a penalty is beyond me. Sticking by his decision. What is he saw there? I don't understand the thought process. It's not a dive, there's contact, therefore it's a penalty. What other way can he get around that? Because he didn't book McMenamin for diving. So what is his thought process there? It's so strange, bizarre decision, and one of many for Alan Muir this season.
A few times been sent to monitor, but and overturn his own decision. It's always one of the referees that stuck with his decision a few times. Where others go to monitor, like we've seen the David Beaton, went to monitor and overturned it and gave the goal as a foul, gave the foul sheet to the goal. But I think Alan Muir a couple of times been sent to monitor and always stuck with his original decision. And like you say, I don't understand why, but maybe he's this type of guy who thinks, no, I'm right, so I'm overturning this.
I mean, yeah, you have brilliantly preempted that was the question I was going to ask next, so happy days. I mean, yeah, to be fair though, on that, right, I will give officials credit if they can go to that monitor and stick by their on-field decision if it's the correct decision, right? Because too often it feels like the game's been re-refereed by the VAR official and they just go with whatever VAR tells them they should go with rather than sticking with their guns. But, I mean, yeah, with this one here, as Davey says, it's a stonewall penalty. For me, it's all day long. I actually think it's quite similar to the Fabio Silva one today, in that he sort of touched the ball to go around him. The contact's there. He goes down. I can't quite understand why Alan Muir, having looked at that on a monitor, sticks by a blatantly wrong decision. Now, fortunately for St Mirren, doesn't cost them anything because they are in the top six, albeit I suppose they feel maybe at that point they can still push for the top four. I mean, do you have any idea why he would stick with that being the wrong decision? With all the angles he gets that shows, particularly the one for behind. The one for behind for me is the one that shows it.
Only he can answer that, Connor. I mean, I just think it must be in their head if somebody comes over behind a comment in your ear and says, listen, go and look at the decision, we think we have missed something. So obviously then it's put doubts in your head. It must put doubts in your head. You're thinking, what have I missed? But obviously he's went and looked at that and thought, I haven't missed anything. I'm still thinking that's the right decision. He's come back, and if that's how he feels, fair play to me say that, but I don't agree with him. Do you know what I mean? I feel it was a penalty. You said the same, David. So that's the 3 years. We thought it was, but obviously he's seeing something different for us, and that's what he's paid for. But I do agree with Davey. He's not a great ref, but there's not many great refs in Scotland. But like Clement said himself, you need referees to play the game, but the referees are in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because why not? We now move our attentions to Leith, where Hibs were taking on St Johnstone. And from one penalty decision not being given to another straight on in this game, early on in the game, a ball's floated in. Marcondes goes for it, as does Mitov. Mitov seems to miss the ball, Davy, and catches Marcondes. Number one, is that a penalty? And number two, should the referee have been sent to the monitor to have a look at that?
Penalty all day long for me. Doesn't matter how much contact there is. There's contact. Mitov doesn't come for the ball. He takes Marcondes out. It's a penalty all day long. Now, what I find absolutely incredulous about this is it was David Munro on VAR. Now, David Munro has had more mistakes than any other official this season, yet continues to get games. It is so bizarre. What about last Friday night in the Championship game when it was Ayr United that was involved? And it's a red card tackle all day long, and he's right in front of it, and he just completely didn't see it that way. There's so many VAR incidents that if you were to Google the ones that are wrong this season, and every quarter the SFA put forward the ones that they've called out as mistakes, David Munro has had the most of any other official, and why he continues to get involvement in top flight football is beyond me. It may be because there's no enough FIFA list or senior graded one officials to take the games, but that's not an excuse. Obviously, we had James and Des on and Friday night, and they were saying that the downgrading system isn't in place anymore. If it was, he would be the prime candidate because he is a poor official, and how that was no given as a penalty is beyond me, because Hibs will feel that they've been hard done by this season, considering they got a clash of heads against them in their own box, given against them as a penalty. What is the difference between the two? Penalty all day long.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Obviously, we know that David Munro's older brother, Terry Munro, he retired a couple of years ago. So Davey obviously not doing the family name proud. I mean,
don't worry, we'll send him an apology like everybody. Sorry, we got it wrong. We'll get it right next time.
But see, this is the thing, though, Keir, right, on this one. I think we all agree that should be given as a penalty kick, right? Now, I can forgive an official in the park, maybe missing that, maybe seeing a wrong angle. I still think you should see it, right? But why, as Davey's saying there, why would VAR look at that and not deem that that's a clear and obvious enough error that at the very least send the referee to the monitor, let him have a look at that again, because that to me is as clear and obvious an error as you're ever likely to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if it's because a goalkeeper involved. I don't know. I don't know why. That's why VAR's there, isn't it? In case the referee misses errors, so they can go back and have a look at it. But they couldn't go back and have a look at it because it wasn't pulled up. So I think it was a big clanger, and I think Hibs maybe issuing a statement to say they weren't happy with that. I don't really know, but I think it wasn't great. But like we mentioned before, the referee in Scotland is not great. But when you see things like this happen, you think to yourself, you should be refereeing. I'm going to say junior football, but I don't want to make that worse either. So you should be refereeing boys club football.
Yeah, well, listen, aside from the penalty, Davey, I mean, they might have felt hard done by without Hibs, but, St Johnstone, fair play to them. I thought they played well, a very solid game plan for them, and they do take the lead in this game. Hibs were on the attack. They're dispossessed. I think they were quite sloppy, actually, with their attacking play. And Smith, I think it is, sends the ball through the channel for Sidibe to latch onto, who I think times he's run to absolute perfection to beat the offside trap. I think he's done brilliantly there. And then it's a brilliant finish into that far corner, and something that St Johnstone have lacked quite a lot at times this season.
I mean, the warning signs were there for Hibs about 5 minutes before it. There was a ball over the top, and Sidibe squared up Bashiri, and he was unlucky. So Hibs didn't take heed of that warning. I think that is a terrific find from Craig Levein, and we've criticised him at times this season on the podcast. But if you're a guy that's involved in football and you've got contacts left, right and centre, to find a player like that from non-league in England and pick him for the 7th, 8th tier of English football, and he's came up and he's been a revelation. He's got pace, he's got power, everything that you would want in the modern day striker. He runs the channel terrifically well. He puts teams under pressure, and he gets St Johnstone 10, 15 yards higher up the pitch than they've been all season, because They had obviously Nicky Clark is one of their forwards this season. Obviously, they've had Chris Kane for years, and in January they let him go out to Dunfermline on loan. So they fancied changing the way they played, and Sidibe allows them to do that. And you have to say he might just make the difference in getting them out that relegation playoff spot between now and the end of the season, because he's got something for me that no other striker in that bottom half has got, and that is an electric turn of pace. And any defender that is in the bottom half of that league certainly doesn't have a turn of pace. So he could be the difference for St Johnstone. And what I think suits St Johnstone is actually playing away from home, because McDermott Park is quite tight and condensed, but Easter Road is a bit bigger. And they made great use of CDB in that game, and I think it was a terrific tactic for Levine and St Johnstone, and they certainly reaped the rewards from it.
Yeah, they certainly did. Although, Kurt, they will have been jubilant for a whole 5 minutes, because just when you think you've got to sell in front at a tough away venue, try and just, keep going the way you've been going, but try, slow it down a bit and keep a bit of possession and don't concede early. They concede 5 minutes later. Hibs get forward. Mailida, who I thought does really well, gets a good shot away. It's saved by Mitov, and Chris Cadden is the quickest to react.
He done well, didn't he? He's seen it coming and he positioned himself properly, and he put his foot right behind it, and it was a good goal. He took it really well. But before that, Mitov's had a few good saves for St John. Hibs had a lot of the ball and they were trying to create, but we know what Hibs are like. Montgomery is sticking to playing this way. He wants him to play, but if you're a Hibs fan, you starting to think this isn't working, because they concede so many sloppy goals. Listen, we're just as bad, to be fair, but they concede goals they shouldn't be conceding. But it's the way he's wanting them to play. They've tried to put it to the back, they try to play possession football, but I don't know if they'll get a players for that. But Cadden took it well. But once he equalised, if you're a Hibs fan, you think we should be going to win this. But obviously they don't.
Kerr, what do you think of that? Sorry if I can just jump in there, Connor. See, in regards to the point you made, Mitov made tremendous saves. The one for Lafondra in particular for me was top class. Hibs have a problem in that position for me. David Marshall's overspent his years, and the Hibs sub-goalies, every single one of them, are absolute torture. I think Mitov should be a target for a team like Hibs, to be honest, because I think the higher up he goes, yes, he's had a couple of mistakes in possibly the second half of the season, but over the piece, you would need to say, outside the sort of top 3 or 4 teams, he's probably been the one consistent player in the whole season.
He should be a target for teams up above him, because he's a really good goalkeeper. And I think when you're down there, you don't have a lot of money to spend. So maybe they'll get somebody for Bournemouth, because they seem to get a lot of players for down there, because obviously they're in a tie, but I'll buy another keeper on loan. But he should be a target for something like Hibs, because the boy's a really good keeper since he's come into St Johnstone. He's in a good fine for him for St Johnstone. So, and he made a few good saves. But when it went 1 each, Hibs should have went on to win that game. If I'm a Hibs fan, I just want to win that game, because as soon as you get back in it, you think we're the home side here. We've got most of the ball. We're getting the majority of shots in they're not on target. We're making a lot of shots yet. We concede again. I mean, I don't know if Montgomery's getting through to the players. I don't know if he maybe thinks the players are better than what they are. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to start checking my laptop for spyware, because I think Davey's somehow seen my notes. Thank you, he's preempted me once again. I was readily waiting to bring up Mitov's, in my opinion, save of the season contender for Lafondra's wee flick, but Davey has beat me to it, and we've covered that off nicely. And as you say there, Kerr, they don't go on and win the game, Hibs, because St Johnstone do find a winner themselves. Now, I must say, fair play to young Conor Gallagher. I believe that's his first ever professional goal, certainly his first goal for St Johnstone in the top flight. Davey, are you correct?
Tony Gallagher.
Tony Gallagher, my apologies, yes. My name's Conor, his name's Tony, get it right. Tony Gallagher's first goal. He takes it well. But again, on to what we're talking about there, about Hibs' defensive issues. It's a decent corner into the box. It's nothing more than that. It's nothing special. It's a decent corner. And Tony Gallagher is finding himself in all sorts of space, and he's able just to slot it home. It's a great finish, but again, Hibs defence disappeared, Davey.
I think it's been a problem position for a number of years now. Obviously, when they had Porteous, the one thing that you got from Porteous was he got himself up for the big games because he liked to be the catalyst that would annoy the opposition. But he never really had a solid partner. He had Hanlon with him, but I don't think the two of them complemented each other because there wasn't great recovery pace in the two. And for me, Rocky Bashiri is an accident waiting to happen every single game. Fish, I think, has done well at times for Hibs this season, but they do not have the correct balance in that back line at all. And for me, it's the one thing that Montgomery never addressed come January. I know he got great players like Marcondes, who I think has certainly improved them, but across the back line, for me, they've just not found the right balance. And why I think Abita's great going forward, he's a bomb scare as well going back the way, and he's a liability at times with his discipline as well, as he's showed on a number of occasions this season. So for me, that is the one position that the Hibs team need to sort out, which is come the summer, goalkeeper and back three, back four, whatever they decide to do going forward. I accept that Cadden's been a big miss for them, but sometimes he plays wing back, sometimes he plays full back. I actually think he's a better wing back than he is a full back because he's much better going forward and he's got great pace. But again, the synergy in the back line for Hibs is woeful, and they will gift you many opportunities in many games, and they play open and expansive football as well, so it's not like they sit in at times when they're playing against better opposition. You're going to get your chances and you're going to get the share of the ball against Hibs. They're quite an open side, and you can't be that open when your back line is as poor as theirs is.
Yeah, and I mean, Kerr, just obviously a quick word on St Johnstone, because we're always spoke about Hibs, got to give Craig Levine a lot of credit. Set his team up really well. Obviously, with his prior Hearts connections, he'll have been absolutely delighted to go to Easter Road and pick up 3 points. But in their battle for survival, that's a huge 3 points. It gives them that 4-point cushion now on Ross County, going into the final fixtures before the split next week. Do you think that they'll have enough to avoid that playoff spot?
I think they will. I think it's I'm saying a bit for them, but they got a good result yesterday. They're starting to play better. They've got a guy in goals who can get you points as well. He can probably save them a few points between now and the end of the season because he's a really good keeper. You've got somebody up top who can score, as you've seen in Craig Levine, for all the criticism he's been given over the years, and because he knows the game and he'll set them up well. Depending on who they're playing, it'll be different formations and different means, but maybe not a 4-6-0 right enough, but he'll set them up well to thing me because they're down fighting for relegation. He's been through it before, so I think they'll avoid it. I think Ross County will finish second bottom. That football is a funny game, as you know, but I think that result helps them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly, one word answer for both these: who gets that final top 6 position? Hibernian, Motherwell, or Dundee? Kurt?
Motherwell.
David?
Dundee.
Oh, well. For what it's worth, I will go Motherwell. I just have a feeling in my bones that they're going to sneak it. Right, okay. Moving on, shifting gears. Kilmarnock against Ross County at Rugby Park. To be honest with you, and there's a reason these final two were clearly bottom of the list. There wasn't a great deal that really happened in this game. It's an important win for Kilmarnock. They keep pace in terms of they're only, I think they're 9 points behind Hearts in third, so Hearts should get third. But Kilmarnock will believe that if they can beat Hearts post-split and a couple of other results go their way, that they might call that back. That's a good result for them to keep a hold of. But I did think, firstly, Davey, that it seemed that Ross County were creating the better of the chances initially. Eamon Brophy has a good one that's saved, and Simon Murray, I think another good effort and a decent save for the Kelly goalkeeper. And certainly Kilmarnock were kind of not necessarily weathering a storm, but coming under a little bit of pressure for Ross County in this one.
Yeah, I think Don Cowie showed his intent by playing 3 central strikers right for the off, and Brophy, White, and Murray. So he was really going to go for it. What I think he'll be disappointed in is none of their chances were clear cut. There were half chances. Every single one of them was half chance. For me, the first clear cut chance of the game was the one that Danny Armstrong had put in for Matty Kennedy. It was great play, link up between Armstrong and Donnelly. And for me, Danny Armstrong's the best at doing this in the league, where he drags the ball quickly back on his favoured foot when he cuts from right to left, and he plays that lovely dink Neil McCann type cross to the back post, and it's precision every time. So many chances Kilmarnock create for that. And the player that I was impressed with, as I've said most this season, is Matty Kennedy. I thought he was superb again for Kilmarnock at the weekend. He just shows terrific endeavour, and like I said, it didn't really work for him at Aberdeen. It was a bit of a hit at St Johnstone, but under Derek McInnes at Kilmarnock, for me, he's just getting that extra 10% out of him. He's a more prominent player for them this season. Like, he's not had a spell on the bench. Like, he starts every week for them, and I certainly think that you look at Kilmarnock, they're resolute. They're never really under pressure in many games. They're comfortable on the ball. Defensively, they're solid enough. They have gave up chances in recent weeks, but Kilmarnock, for me, every week you watch them, they're a 6, 7 out of 10 every week. And I think that's credit to Derek McInnes. You have to say they've got great attacking players. None of them were really on show as much on Saturday. I do think the elements played into that. But the one thing I'm going to criticise is Wickens. He's had great sort of praise since he's come in as the number 1 for County, replacing Laidlaw. What's he doing at the goal? For me, Kyle Vassell strikes it well enough, but surely he has got to get his body behind that and handle that comfortably. It's so passive, it goes into the back of the net. For me, that is a goalkeeping error and could be costly for Ross County. Livingston obviously gets a point at the weekend, and a point at this stage is positive for Livingston. County seem to have had that wee spell where they got a wee sort of back-to-back game bounce under Don Cowie, but have fell off it again in terms of results. So for me, they're under pressure going into the last round of fixtures before the split.
Excuse me. No, I'd agree with David there, Kerr. And as he says, obviously, the goal, to be fair, I think he does pull off a decent save initially, Wickens. Then, obviously, when it comes to the free kick along, Matty Kennedy, I think, deserves a lot of credit because he really kept it alive. And when it sort of comes out to Vassell, it's a good finish. I agree with David, the keeper possibly should do better. Should the defenders have been trying to close that ball down a little bit better as well? Because he seemed to be able to take that wee touch before he gets his finish away, Vassell.
They probably should have, but listen, they kept it in the play, didn't he? And I think that put him in the back foot, but he struck it well, but he should do better. But the boy's been playing really well since they brought him in. He's a young kid, he's going to have a few mistakes at certain games, but he can't have any more. That's because it may cost him. But there are 9 points between him and Livy. I think Ross County are fine. I think they'll finish second bottom. I think they'll win the playoff for whoever's in the championship. But I think they'll probably get a couple more points in the home games because he has to go for it. Then he has to play 3 up front. He has to go for it because he can't be conservative about it. He has to be proactive and just go and say, listen, try and get many points as we can, because he probably deep down Don Cowie's thinking we're going to win a playoff match here against probably Rafe Rovers. So it's just one of the games. But Derek has set Kilmarnock up really well this season. They've got a solid squad of players. With one drops out, somebody else comes into that position. This does the same job. They all know what they've got to do. The back lines get 4 guys who can header, 4 guys who can defend. Might not be the best footballers, but guys like Robbie Pease and Lewis Mayo and Finlay, they can all header the ball away. Midfield, Polworth does a lot of work. Donald does a lot of work. We all know what the boys the wing can do. They're a threat. They're tenacious. They get in your face, but they defend as well. They track back and they defend, and up front, Big Vassell does a lot of hard work, and he gets the goals as well. And Mally Watkins has got a new lease of life this season. The goals he's been banging in. So Kilmarnock are a threat. They might still think Hearts are just too far away, but they will keep chasing them because that's what they have to do. But I think if they finish fourth, that's a great season for Derek McInnes and Kilmarnock.
Yeah, 100%. And Davey, just quickly before we move to the final game, which there isn't much to say about, Kerr touched on there, Kilmarnock 9 points off of Hearts in third. Obviously, they've still got a game to play against Kilmarnock after the split. Win that, it then becomes a 6 point lead. Both will have to play either side of the Old Firm. Is there a chance, a small chance even, that Kelly could catch Hearts?
No, for me. Hearts have been far too consistent from the sort of end of last year straight through this year's. I would say for about October, November onwards, Hearts have been far too consistent to let that slip. 9 points at this stage of the season. If we were 9 points behind Celtic, do you realistically think we would win the league? The answer would be no. So I think Hearts are comfortably in third. And that's no to be disparaging towards Kilmarnock or their supporters. I think if you had gave them fourth before the start of this season, they'd have bit your hand off for it. I think it's been a wonderful season for them. And they've actually managed to change the way they played this season as well, which I think's even been a benefit to the support. They're actually going to their games and enjoy watching their team play. At the start of last season, when they had Big Ash Taylor being their top scorer for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, it was a rough watch for them, but it's night and day now, and you have to give great credit to Derek McInnes, and I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with fourth as well.
Yeah, 100%. Right, okay, we'll move on to the final game of the weekend at the Spaghetti Had. Livingston and Aberdeen, two really, really poor sides, Kerr. I'm conscious of time and we're over an hour. I don't think we need to go too deep into this one. Nothing much happened, but Livingston had a couple of early chances, I think probably the best of which falls to Bradley after Kelly's ball into the box. He gets a free header. Should probably score.
They probably should do better, but listen, Livingston's confidence must be on the ground by now. How many weeks? What can the manager go in there and say? What can me, David, go into the dressing room and say to them? I mean, they must know they're fighting a losing battle. They must know this season after season of making this escape, they're eventually going to go down. I think they'll find it very hard to come back up, but they must go into that dressing room. I don't know what else you can say to them. The players must know deep down they're not going to get all this as well, but they'll keep fighting, but they just lack quality all over the park, don't they? They'll get their chances now and again, but they're just lacking some this season compared to what they've had previous seasons. I think he's been lucky with some of the transfer dealings in the past. He brought in 2 or 3 good players who's done really well, but they've moved on. But that only happens for so long. But they've just been unlucky. Listen, I don't mind Livingston. It was always a good wee ground to go to because it's one of the grounds where we usually get a ticket because they gave away support to a lot of tickets. But it was always going to happen, wasn't it? And I feel sorry because I like David Martindale. So, but your boys should have done better. But listen, a point at home against Aberdeen's a decent result, but Aberdeen are poor. Aberdeen are very poor.
Yeah, and of course, Davey, when you're in that mire as Livingston are, you look for anything to go your way, anything that could possibly go your way. I just wonder your thoughts. Should or could Richard Jensen have been sent off for the high boot on Tete Yengi? It's a sort of ball in there. It looks like he's tried to sort of hook it, I think, Jensen, and I'm not sure how much contact is made if he catches it, but I'm just wondering, we've seen a few red cards for high boots this season. We've seen one for Yang against Hearts. Is it a case of probably the right decision not to send him off, but had he been sent off, he couldn't have had many complaints?
I think for me, insufficient enough contact for it to be, a red card for me. If you look at the Yang one with Cochrane, Yang's foot is high and straight, as Cochrane's coming in to challenge for it. So that's slightly different for me. The two incidents aren't the same. I think that would have been harsh had that been given. I know you'll come to another contentious incident very later, but just on the game itself, I thought Shamal George had a couple of decent saves, but he also had a couple of bomb scare moments as well, and that seems to be the story with Livingston. They're always going to give you chances, and if you watch the highlights of the match, the one incident that got 3 replays was a tackle for Jason Holt when he came on in the second half, and I don't know why they showed 3 replays of the incident. That sums up how this game was. I mean, it really was a really poor game. It was a nothing tackle in the middle of the pitch. There wasn't even a booking, and they replayed it 3 times. So that sums up, you know, the BBC's coverage of the highlights package for the game. On what will be the second contentious incident of the game, for me, correct me if I'm wrong if I missed that, but Sportscene didn't show me the lines in this game. They just
to clarify that, because you're right. What they had said on Sportscene, because Stevie Thompson had mentioned it, is that the reason they didn't show the lines is because the SFA didn't show them the lines. The lines haven't been released as of yet, according to the Sportscene coverage. I mean, listen, Miovski involved in the 2 best moments for Aberdeen. He misses a 1-on-1, and then this one here. It's 2 questions, Kerr. So the first one is that the initial free kick, he is offside when the initial free kick is taken. However, it's not him that the ball directly goes to. Then after that, the initial sort of attempt to cross gets blocked and then gets back over to Miovski. Is that then a second phase of play, and therefore how can it be offside? And it's an acrobatic effort. To be fair, it's a good finish that he ends up with it chopped off. But as Davey says, though, without the lines, we really have no idea which part they've said he's offside, and that's the trouble with this one.
We also don't know what phase of play they're talking about, and I don't know what phase of play how long can they go back. That's what we don't know about VR. We don't really know the ins and outs of how they look at it. You look at some things and you think to yourself, hey, that's the correct decision, but then you look at that and you think, you see, there's no line, so we don't really know. And then the play goes on, Livingston could have cleared it, put the ball back in. So we don't know when he was, if he was offside again. We don't really know when the referees went back to it, but obviously they went back to a certain phase he was offside, which was obviously maybe with a free kick, and that's where they ruled it from. But I don't know, does it say how many phases can go back? Because if that's the case, how long are they going to go back? Because I thought if you went through a phase and then you kept playing, but then you never had a chance to clear that, and then they got it back. And so I thought if that happened, then that phase was wiped out because they've had a chance to clear it, and it went back to Aberdeen. So I thought that cancelled that. But now he's right. So I've not got a clue, man. I'm too old for VR, I'm telling you. Man.
Well, I mean, Davey, does the fact that the SFA have not actually released the lines as of yet to the broadcasters show you that there's a bit of head scratching going on there as well? Because that makes me feel like they're not even sure exactly where the offside came.
Well, that's a fair point, Connor. And when the next I think it'll be Q3 results are released, we'll see how many mistakes that they've made. There was 13 in the last one, and I'm pretty sure the week after they announced the last one, there was 6 in the one weekend after that they got wrong and they come out and apologised for. So you can expect this Q to be the highest it's been yet. For me, when I look at the still image, and it's hard because the Sportscene camera, the side-on camera, seems to be behind play, and it always seems to be behind play, so you can't really judge the straight line. But I think there's a possibility that McDonald's top half above the T-shirt line is offside when the initial ball's played forward, which could be the case because the only person that's in line with them is the Livingston left back, or the player that's in the left side, which I think is Brandon, and the two of them are level. But I think McDonald possibly could be offside on the still image, but that is just simply guesswork. And see, if he was offside for that, surely it would be easy to draw the lines for that. That's what I don't understand. The commentators and us as fans shouldn't be making guessworks on highlight packages. Now, there's mistakes down south all the time, but there is communication, and if there's a wrong decision, Howard Webb will come out the next day and tell you, we apologise for the mistake, this is the mistake, and they release the audio. There's absolutely zero transparency up in Scotland. When Crawford Allen, as we know, stepping down, done that review before the last Old Firm game, you know, he picked selected incidents, and the incidents he picked was the ones that they got right. on VAR review. So they're just looking to give themselves a pat on the back. For me, it needs somebody to come in from outside because the whole setup needs to change. People need to be punished for wrong decisions like Alan Muir and David Monroe this weekend. And the whole thing needs looked at in terms of, do we have VAR only officials? If we do, they have to meet a standard. If they fail that standard, they come out and somebody else gets a go at it. And there has to be a complete, reconstruction of Scottish football. But again, that's an argument for another day.
Yeah, indeed it is. And I'm conscious that we are well over the hour. So that is all of the games for the rest of the league ticked off. And I know we're going over time, but it would be remiss of us not to have a quick chat about proceedings today. The title race wrote its most recent chapter this afternoon. Kerr, you were at the game. You were at Ibrox.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, relieved that we got the draw, given the way that it went in the first half. 21 seconds in, and we've conceded a goal. I mean, what was your kind of overall feeling on the madness that was that particular game of football?
It was a point saved. It was a draw we were fortunate to get. I thought the first half, that's probably the poorest I've seen since Kilmarnock became manager. I thought we were all over the place. But getting into the game, we were driving up to the game. We all said in the car, the team's no great. The team's picked the wrong side. The way he's going to depending how he sets up, but I thought he did. I thought the first goal, Tab gets a lot of blame. I thought Tab today was absolutely horrible. Credit for stepping up for taking the penalty because he could have given it to somebody else, but he did both to step up. But I thought it was shocking. He was in Maida's pocket most of the game. I thought Maida just terrorised him. But I thought the first goal was a freak accident one. It was a mistake, but that's just my opinion. The second goal was a penalty, but also I think it was Maeda that headed the ball into Golson. It hits his elbow. So I never seen it at the games. I'm sitting at the end, but I seen it on the tele. So obviously, with the way VR goes, that's a penalty. But I thought Butland had a few good saves in the first half. He kept the score down. I thought we were poor. We weren't really. I don't know what we're trying to do. We were giving the ball away very cheaply, and I would have to say, Lundstrom today. I thought this is just my opinion again. I thought John Lundstrom was poor. Del Monte was trying, but I thought Lundstrom was poor. I thought game was passing him by. The problem is Celtic's got a lot of pace in that front three. We don't have a lot of pace. Middle to back, we don't have a lot of pace. And Tav used to be quick, but you seen today that pace away. Golson's slow. I thought Suter was slow, but he was probably the best out of the three of them. I thought Sterling played well. I probably gave him man of the match, to be fair. I thought he tried, but he was desperate in the middle of the park, wasn't he? He was trying to push up, he was trying to make things happen, and he went down injured. I thought, he's going to go off here. He's going to be season over, but he got up, he carried on. Maybe blaming Park for their third goal. I thought he was getting twisted and turned, him and Suter. Also thought Butland should have saved it, but that's just grabbing at straws. I thought it went down. I was straight to when it went underneath him. I was right behind it, and I said to get next to I said, Butland should have saved that. Because I know how good a goalie is. I was expecting him to save it, but he never. But the thing about that team, we dug in. We came back twice. And with a goal disallowed, which that's the thing with VR. I know David talked about it. He knows more about it than I do. I don't like that much into it. But at that point, Beaton was very close to Lawrence tackling. And Beaton waved, play on. He went like that, play on. And then the goal scored. Then he's come back. He gets called back and goes to the stadium and cancels it. Now, it was a foul. As I said at the time, that's a foul by Lawrence. But Beaton was right there and seen it. But he calls it back because obviously if told him you made an error, which is fair. That's how VAR works. But that's what I don't get because the referee's seen that close up, plays on, but then pulls back and says, no, I'll change my mind, it's a mistake. So, but I thought we were lucky to get away with a point, but I think that point could actually maybe be crucial for us because I think we needed that. And I think the way the game ended was probably more pleasing for us. And it was for them, especially when Matondo's goal at the end. I mean, that was a big critical of Abbey, and I still think he's more an impact player and as a starter. And I think when he comes on and scores goals like that, he'll continue to be a super sub because I think that's for Kilmarnock season. Because he's coming on and making a difference, whereas when he starts, he doesn't. Before that, he lost the ball a few times. He run into traffic. And he tried that before, a couple of seconds before he tried that, but I think Carter Vickers got across. But then he tried that again. It was absolute worldie, man, right in the top corner. And he celebrated that today. I know that we were getting criticised for celebrating. No because we won, no because we were claiming to win anything. It was just because, to be honest with you, at half time, we were beat. I thought that game was lost. I didn't see us a way back the way we were playing. So to come away with a 3-each draw, I'm happy with that. The title's in our hands, but the title's also in their hands. It could swing either way, but I'd probably say they might be more favourites than us just because the last game's at Celtic Park.
Yeah, I mean, Davey, it really is, you know, it's a rizzler paper in it between the two right now. It's a toss of a coin because that game of the day, you know, as you were, we can go top, obviously, with victory at Dundee on Wednesday. But obviously, given the fact that we have got to go to Parkhead, that could be sooner than later, depending on the way the fixtures fall when they get post-split fixtures are announced. Certainly makes it difficult, but keeps it in our hands, and as Kerr says. And I mean, on that performance today, Dave, it was really a game of two halves in some ways, wasn't it? Because the first half, we were never in it. It was dreadful stuff. You know, booed off at half time. Obviously, Kerr was in the ground, so he'll know what the feeling was more than I was. But I did think that there was a good resiliency and a good fighting spirit shown in the second half, because you're 2-0 down, and then you get to 2-1, you get a couple of setbacks because you have a goal ruled out, and then you get to 2-2, and then they go 3-2 up, so you've got to come again. And I do think for the positive side of things today was that bit of a, you know, never say die attitude, and they kept going until the end.
Yeah, I take all that on board, Connor. But see, for me, and people in the comments are welcome to criticise me here all they want. But I've grew up in an era where Rangers have won titles, and I've never seen a Rangers team win a title and no beat them in a season. So you have to beat them if you want to win this title. And I know people say, yeah, you might get away with 2 draws and all the rest of it. No, you have to beat them. And what I think you need to do is you need to look into how you beat them. Hearts beat them at Parkhead. Why can we know? You have to play to your strengths and highlight their weaknesses. And I think Clermont got it wrong in the starting team, because the one thing that exploits Celtic is pace and pressing them higher up the pitch. And as you alluded to, in the second half, when Sima came on and made a difference, we got 10, 15 yards higher up the pitch. And Celtic, it was just like relentless pressure on them for about a 20, 25-minute period. And they did not like it. They started making mistakes. They were knocking the ball about incoherently at the back. And it was going out for shies and going back to Joe Hart. And he's not the best at his feet. So what you've got to look at is you've got to look at how you exploit them. You look at Alistair Johnson. He's got a foul and a bad tackle in a more game. When did we start running at him? We started running at him after 70 minutes when Matondo come on. We never took him on the full game up until the one incident, which was the Silva penalty incident. But see, before that, we never exploited him. And him and Greg Taylor really hate going back the way. They're really poor at defending with their backs to their own goal. That's where you stretch Celtic and put them under pressure. And we didn't do that. Now, I hosted a podcast on Friday evening and I posed the question, have we been too passive under our last 2 managers? What do we need to do different? And the consensus for the 2 guys and the people in the comments was, we need to be more aggressive. And I think possibly the thing that negated that was that Ridvan wasn't fit. So we lost Sterling on the right-hand side and had to play him at left back, because let's face it, nobody wanted to start the game with Borna Barisic today, because you feel like he's been a man down at times in these games. But you have to look at how can we win this league and how can we beat them. And it shouldn't be, oh, we're playing for a draw at Parkhead. No, we have to go in with the mindset that we have to see what their weaknesses are and exploit them. McGregor didn't start for them today. So again, they've not had a fully strength team in any game that started against us this season. In the last 2, they had a makeshift back 4, and we haven't exploited them at all. That's on us, and that has to change. And yes, the odds are against us when we go to Parkhead. But if we win on Wednesday night and we win against Ross County, we must go in with a positive, aggressive attitude this time, because if you go in with anything but that, for me, you surrender the title.
Well, I mean, yep, I'd have to say I agree with that. Right, well, I think on that rousing speech, we will start to wrap it up. I'll just very, very quickly ask here, do you have any issues with any of the three big decisions that were made today by VR? Penalty kick for Celtic, penalty for us, and a chopped off goal.
I've just got an issue with VR in general, but no, the letter of the law, they're all right. No, my only issue was Scott Wright starting.
Yeah, I think that was everybody's issue. I think it's safe to say he'll not be starting again. But anyway, right, we will wrap it up there, folks, because Kerr and Davey have put in a stellar shift. We will be back tomorrow for the phone-in. I'm sure that will be lively. That'll be your chance to have your say on the game today and anything else that's on your mind. Obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Raiders Rabble if you've enjoyed this. We'll be back next Sunday for the next week of the Scottish Football Show, the final games before the split, so it will be all to play for. Until then, though, my thanks to Davey and to Kerr. See you later.